What's up, everybody? Circus here, coming at you with a video for new players, right? We get a lot of
Yes.
new players in our Discord, and we're here to help. And we see a lot of similar things happening. People coming in and say, "Oh, I got advice from this place. I got advice from this place. I got these
Mm.
cards," and they're not performing as well as I had hoped. So I guess we wanted to sit and take a minute and just kind of point out what we keep seeing and why it's not working, right?
Yeah, we made a list of 5 cards/decks that we either encountered on the ladder ourselves or we saw in the popularity rankings.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at Circus and said, "Yeah, these 5 just absolutely suck, and we got to tell people about them."
Right, right. Well, we also run into this a lot on stream and the new
Yeah,
player
all the
help
time.
in our Discord. So now, if you've done these things, don't feel bad. We've all done them, but
Yeah,
hopefully, we're reaching out to the new people that maybe haven't done these yet, and we can help a few people. So,
and if you have
um,
done them, that's okay. You know that there's always recovery.
hey, I used to watch a really. I'm not gonna shout anybody out, but I used to watch a lot of bad YouTube videos like 3 or 4 years ago when I first
Yeah,
started playing the game, and whoo. All right, so number
same
five
here.
here, Red Eyes Fusion. Now, at one point, this was a good meta deck. This was like
Hmm.
really, really good.
Yeah. Red Eyes is a lot of people are like, oh, it's super easy to get because it's a structure and it's cheap, and you can get like a decent deck out of it, and you can get like good ranks. You can do like a farm deck. The thing is though, you could just get Blue Eyes, and it can do everything that Red Eyes can do, but like way better,
And you
just
can turn
infinitely
Blue
better.
Eyes into a meta deck.
Yeah, meta deck,
Right.
farm deck, whatever you need. Uh, Red Eyes is just too, it's too linear, it's too restrictive, and the best you can do, which is Red Eyes plus Power of the Guardian and equip, isn't as good as it used to be because there's so much non-targeting destruction these days.
Hmm.
Where before it was just like the out was drowning mirror force or like chain blocking, which was an advanced, not advanced tactic, but one of the more advanced things you can do
Right.
in Duel Links, and thus creating the difference between a good player and like a great player. You don't even have to do all that these days. Like there's so many things that don't target. There's so many things that destroy without targeting.
Hmm.
And there's even better boss monsters that are untargetable. For example, Saber Dancer,
Right.
is just straight up better, more attack points, higher body, and just is better at not being destroyed than something like the Red Eyes with the slash.
Yeah.
And then of course, yeah, just comparing this to even something like Neo's Fusion, where they can still like summon before and then Neo's Fusion. If you Red Eyes Fusion, that's it. You're Dunzo type
Right.
of situation. So I see so many people going with Red Eyes, especially when I'm, I get off my lazy ass and get into ranked and I'm like, oh God, I've deteriorated down to gold or platinum. And, I'm playing Noble Knights and I just have like a monster equipped with Gwynnefer. They make this great Red Eyes. They swing into Gwyn and they lose. And they're like, what just happened?
Right.
There's way too many things that out Red Eyes now to have like that effect be relevant where they just negate a targeting effect. There's so
Right.
many things that just, go beyond that. Even things like Hammer Shot go beyond
Right.
that.
Because it doesn't get to do all its cool effects until it attaches a monster
Yeah.
once it declares an attack. So you can really mess with it before it does
Hmm.
that. And there's just too many cards to do that with right now.
Yeah, Canadia, Floodgate, or stuff like that. And even if you have like the even getting like the good equips, it's like pay to win, and it's like just not worth it for what? Pay to lose?
Right.
Like,
We're
come on.
just, and if you've done this, don't feel bad. It's just, I know it's only 500 gems, but if you've ever built a deck, that's a 10 pack in a
Yeah,
box,
it's a
man.
10 pack,
That's a 10
baby.
pack.
Oh
That's a
God.
lot. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm building a lot of decks right now. I know how it
Yeah, but
goes.
of course we did put it at number 5 because at least it is still a playable deck, right?
Right.
When you have it, at least it's not like totally useless, and it doesn't like give your opponent the win con. So probably why we have it at number 5.
All right. The next one is just fun. We like to meme on this one a little bit. So we'll talk about it. Magical
Oh
Eyes,
man.
Fusion, and Quintet Magician. And this one's on here just because, well, it's an old strategy at this point, and it's not
Yeah.
cheap. I mean, you got to go into an old box. There was a lot of good cards in that box. A lot of
Yeah,
that
there
stuff isn't.
was.
It's over, what is it, a year old, 2 years old, whatever at this point.
I think
It's
it's
a
almost 2,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an old box. There's just not as much in there. There are like Necro Valley's in there, so that's a good card. But like a lot of the stuff, it's just not as good as it once
Yeah.
was, and it's a
And
main
honestly,
box.
the stuff that you get out of there is going to be like way more, but it's just going to be better than playing like the Quinton package, right?
Oh
Because the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
idea behind
definitely.
it's like the whole idea behind the Quinton package is, well, the best way to do is go with like the Berry Girls and just try to stall your opponent until like you can Quinton. This is probably the worst meta to try and quintet someone with all the hand traps running around,
Right,
because it's the
right.
one thing quintet cannot stop, the hand traps. And then they just deal with your quintet with back row right afterwards.
Yep.
Um, but even just ignoring that, being able to stall with Berry Girls long enough to even get this card out is
Hmm.
so difficult. And yes, it feels cool when
When
he
you
comes
do it,
out, he
yeah.
pop everything and then direct attack for 45. How can that be bad? But the chances of that actually happening, stalling enough to have 5 unique,
Right.
magician monsters, or your opponent misplaying hard enough, you would have probably won 3 or 4 times more games in that span of time, instead of just stalling out for that one win condition that just looks cool. In reality, doesn't do too much. Um,
Well, the other thing is just the cost, just having to
the
go in
cost is,
and get it. I
yeah,
know they're just rares and stuff. But that, again, it's just gems you could be spending on anything else that's more
yeah,
modern. That's the thing. A lot of these
pretty much, yeah,
recommendations you get from people, it's like, hey, this is an old win con. This is an old strategy. I would recommend playing something that's new. You know,
yeah, pretty much. There's
basically.
there's there's newer cheese that you can play.
Right. Yeah. There's better
uh,
cheese. So this is another
yeah.
one. So all right, next one, number 3
Yes,
is Photons and underpowered anime decks. Now we're picking on Photons
yes,
just because we see it a lot, but there's a lot
yeah.
of like anime decks, like Heroes, like right
hmm
now is very underpowered.
Photons specifically are also like heavily in the popular ranking, so I know there's like a lot of them playing.
Mhm.
And whenever I talk to someone about photons, the first thing out of their mouth in Duel Links is they don't have all their support yet.
Right,
Okay, play them when they have their support, or invest into them when they
right,
get their support, right? Because right now you're going for a very linear strategy with photons, that's very easily disrupted. Literally anything that happens to that galaxy dragon, that's it, your whole strategy falls apart. It's a weaker version of Dark Magician, who's also a weak anime
right.
deck right now waiting for support. um, and yeah, things like heroes and stuff that lost True Nade and all these powerful cards and they can't OTK anymore. Like all these decks are decks that are waiting for support. They're decks that Konami will support. Yes, Photon is an anime deck. It's a very popular anime deck. It's a
Mhm.
generation of Blue Eyes that didn't grow up with Blue Eyes. They grew up with Galaxy Eyes. Um, so they will eventually give these decks support. But as of right now, there's no reason to invest so early in a deck because you just never know. For example, for all the people that invested into Noble Knights thinking, oh my god, Noble Knights will be such a clutch deck when Exceed comes out. Well, they got super screwed because Madrock came out in a structure. Look at the cost
Right.
difference there is
Yeah.
just insane. So you don't want to be in that same situation with Photons where it's like a year down the road, they release a Photon structure or they re-release Photon cards or whatever the case may be. Even maybe they don't do that. Maybe they don't re-release it, but it just ends up in the Dream Ticket vendor. And that box is like totally useless. For example, Cosmic or Drowning, those are amazing cards, but they're in terrible boxes, or Sphere Karibo even. So there's no reason to overinvest into these decks when they're not good right now. Invest in them when they are good, because then it'll be cheaper, probably. And even if it's not cheaper, well, what'd you lose out on? A bunch of games that you would have lost with the deck. Like
Right.
who cares, kind of thing.
The big thing a lot of people complain is like, oh, I don't want to play meta. I don't want to play meta. But
Mm,
there's a lot of stuff that's meta adjacent. We call them rogue decks or better strategies. Photons don't even fall into one of those. You know
nope.
what I mean? Like Yusenju's right now, rogue decks come and go, but Yusenju's, they've always been one of those decks that like they're meta dependent. They can get into the game and they can
hmm
play. They would be a better investment
Oh
than
yeah.
like a Photons. You know what
And
I
then I
mean?
think you'd also be getting things like ritual beasts and stuff with it too. So it's just you get more value for
Right.
for your for your what
Right.
money you're spending, versus going in for the anime deck that is just not good yet. And Konami's
Not yet.
holding on to the support.
Oh, they want to string it out, right? Because it's an
They want to
anime
string
deck,
it
so
out.
they want to
Yeah,
put it in
yeah.
multiple boxes and
And
make you
it's like
buy
I
everything.
get it, guys. Like, yes, I understand there's a lot of support for these cards that can come out. They're very popular, especially heroes and photons. But if it's not here yet, there's no reason for you to spend your dollar amount. These decks aren't going anywhere. There's not
Yep.
like a finite supply of digital cardboard. Like
Right.
you can get it later down the road, probably for cheaper, and not, lose a whole bunch in the process.
It's more than likely if you're playing an underpowered deck, you're going to do well in the beginning. Then you're just going to get hit a wall, and then you're just going to get upset and stop playing.
Yeah,
You know what
it's
I
not
mean?
gonna be worth
That's
it.
not
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
All right, so let's look at number 2 then. Number 2, Dimensional Prison.
I legit have nothing good to say about Dimensional
This is
Prison. I
this is like a
don't know
Rye
why
one.
people
When
play
we're
it.
making this list, he's like Dimensional Prison. I'm like, okay, all right.
I do not know why people. I think it's on the recommended of your UR Dream. Konami recommends it. I think that's the
Oh,
only
okay.
reason people pick it up. But it's just so bad because not only does it have a requirement when your opponent's monster declares an attack, so already you're
Mhm.
competing with things like drowning, Wall of D, all of these things. On top of that, it also targets the attacking monster with
Right.
Banish. Like, whoa, two downsides to something that's already, so limiting and when I can use it. I don't understand why people play Dimensional Prison. I understood it back in the day. There was a cheese type of thing where people would summon Shien, right? And then they would set a card, and then your opponent would play and see that there's no delay. So like, that's dual wield, you know what I mean? And then they
Right.
would swing into it, and oh my god, it's Dimensional Prison, you lose.
Right.
Not only would that not even work these days because of so many monsters having non-targeting on them, like Saber Dancer and stuff. It's just kind of like, why would you set that up when it's like you can have any other back row that would have,
Right.
even if your opponent knows what it is, it's like, well, they still have to play into it and potentially lose. So it's just one of those funny things that kind of came from that. But yeah, Dimensional Prison. There's so many other cards that do this, what this card does, but even better. I'm thinking things like Wall of D is amazing. You just
Right.
nerf everyone's attack straight up. Drowning Mirror Force right now is amazing. You can stall. Even free to play cards like Countergate can be just way better
Well,
than
yeah, I'm looking
Dimensional.
at all the popularity ranking. Everything that ranks before Dimensional Prison, I would recommend before
Yeah,
Dimensional Prison.
Dimensional Prison. Yeah, it's just too many downsides for what this card ultimately does. I don't know why people are getting it. The only thing I can think of is just it's recommended on the UR Dream, so people just click it
Right.
instinctively. But I mean, literally, it is a UR Dream, and in that same UR Dream, you can pick up Drowning Mirror Force. It just there's
Right.
no reason. It's
Yeah.
literally just
Or
better.
anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, anything else? Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at number one. And if you are a fan of the channel, you're a fan of Rye, you know what this one is going into it.
Oh baby.
Power of the Guardians,
This
baby.
card's just not good. It's just not good. It's one of those. It's like that definition of a noob trap, right? You
Right,
look at
yeah.
big numbers, can't be destroyed. How can this be bad? How
Right.
can this possibly be bad?
How can you stop
Well,
me? How I put 3 of these on my monster. How can you stop me?
what enemy controller? What is that?
Right.
What that's the thing, right? Like the only time this
Canadia.
is
Yep.
good is when combined with Red Eyes, and we already talked about why Red Eyes isn't even that good with it. But outside of that, this doesn't give you any sort of protection outside of the not being able to destroy. Well, a lot of effects don't even destroy these days, right? Like imagine right now you summoned any monster besides Red Eyes. You
Mhm.
equip triple power the Guardian. You swing in. Your opponent flips up Forbidden Lance, targets their Harpy Slash. You lose because your monster goes back to your hand. All those
Right.
power of the Guardians get wiped out. And that's the situation you run into a lot of the times. People play things like Cyber Dragon, Power the Guardian, or Vanilla Monster, Power the Guardian, or
Just a
whatever the
simple
case may be.
Canadia takes care of the whole
Just a
thing.
simple Canadia takes care of the whole
Yeah.
thing. There's no inherent
Yep.
protection besides like destruction protection. And
Yep.
destruction protection isn't usually the go-to to take out, cards. We can just look at this, just simply look at the top trap cards. Karma Cut banishes. Treacherous Trap Destruction, that would protect you. Floodgate doesn't protect you. Ultimate Providence, you'd still lose your effect, but you'd be protected. Fiendish Chain, you can no longer attack. Great, your monster's unbeatable, but it can't do anything. Raigeki Break can actually target the power of the Guardian to take it out. Drowning Mirror Force, you lose. Canadia, you lose. Hollow Life Barrier, irrelevant. Wall of D, if you get too low, they start swinging into you. You still lose life points, so you got to be
Right. Right.
careful. So it's just too many, like, it doesn't prevent anything outside of just when your opponent is just playing an Unga Bunga deck and they're just smashing their head into you.
It
Um,
seems so cool when you first start the game, you know?
it does
Because
seem so
against like
cool,
the
but it's
AI and
not.
stuff, you're just like, you can't stop me. I put
Yeah.
my 1300 attack normal monster. I put on Power of the Guardians. Let's go. You know?
I'll tell you guys right now, Power of the Guardian's number 20, and a lot of people think it's because of bots, but no, people do play Power of the
A
Guardian in
lot.
like
Yeah.
gold and silver and rookie. If you want to get into like platinum elo very, very quickly without losing like any games, play double enemy controller in your deck. Wait for your opponent to just super boost a monster with Power of the Guardian and other spells, and then just enemy controller for game.
Yeah.
I've won
Ikate.
so many games doing that because
Yep.
people just soup up one monster, put all their eggs in one basket, enemy controller, steal it, you win.
Yep.
It's really brutal.
And if you're following along on the series that I do every Saturday, you know, I've got new accounts where I'm building decks. So I'm way down on the ladder and I can attest to all this stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
100% Power of the Guardians.
It's everywhere.
Just plain simple Canadias, econs. I mean, it's really easy to win with. So those are just some new player traps. I guess of course, we're not trying to come down on you. We're just trying to, hopefully you're seeing this before you fall into any of them. And if you have fallen into them, share your
Stop recommending
story.
it. Yeah, and stop
Share your
recommending it to
story.
others.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. It's like, hey man, I got Power of the Guardian, and right now I'm in gold. It's like, dude, just stop.
Just stop.
Just
Yeah.
stop. Just stop.
The game doesn't start until Legend. Okay, the game really doesn't start until you get to Legend. So
Yeah, it
just
really
keep that
doesn't.
in mind. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. Let us know some of the traps that you fell into. Like mine, I'll be honest, mine. I don't want to call him out, but I watched a certain YouTuber that was not very good, but I didn't know he was good, and I took all his deck recommendations.
Same here. I did the same thing. I built a relinquished. It was like a relinquished Blackluster Soldier deck. Oh man, it was not good.
It was so
Not a
bad.
good deck. It was really bad. Whoopsies.
Yeah, so everybody falls into them, but hopefully we prevented a few people from doing it. So
Yeah.
let us know what you know. Let us know what you think in the comments below. But we're gonna get out of here because, well, I got nothing to do. But Rise actually got to call a tournament. So
True.
yeah, get in the Discord because it's free. The tournaments are free. New player help is free. I'm Circus. That's Rye,
Bye, boys.
and we'll see you next time.